Hello, everybody. Grey Wolf here. I hope everybody is having a great day. And before we get to my gear and loadout, I wanted to touch on a couple points of the build that you guys should know, and then we will go over my spec and my gear. Okay, so there's two different aspects about this build. One is the mobbing setup, which you could actually use for, I would say, 95% of your bossing. And then there's the actual bossing part, which is basically just used for the raid bosses. And really, the only difference is switching out a couple pieces of gear, which I will go over right now. Okay, so the items that you're going to see on the left-hand side of the screen are going to be your typical loadout, and the items on the right are going to be what you equip when you get a little pissed off and you go, you know what? I'm going to melt the shit out of this thing almost instantly. But anyways, the assault and battery is going to be your primary weapon. If you read what it says, your critical hit chance builds up until you finally crit, and then you create a dagger storm. Now that dagger storm is going to actually benefit from melee and from area damage bonuses, which when I go over my skill trees, you're gonna see that I took a substantial amount of skill points into area damage in the Berserker tree. Now the weapon on the right, the Spellblade, is arguably one of the strongest, if not the strongest melee weapon in the game right now, due to its interactions with spell damage bonuses, melee damage bonuses, which you both get and add to the overall damage of the melee weapon, and its interaction with the live wire currently. However, I speculate that one or both are going to get nerfed here in the coming patch. But as for right now, if you want to melt something almost instantaneously, you're going to want to equip the Spellblade and then the following items that I'm about to explain right now. Alright, so basically, the gear on the left is set up to be a much more well-rounded type of setup, whereas the gear on the right is pretty much set up to exploit the contagion mechanic, which is incredibly powerful. And as I stated before, I don't know if it's going to get nerfed. So I wanted to provide you guys with a more concrete and more substantial loadout, which is why I'm explaining the split between both of them. And with that said, now that you see all of the gear for the two parts that I was explaining, let's get into my spec and loadout. Alright, everybody. So for my skill trees, the way I was thinking about it was that one, I'm going to take from the shadows. I'm going to take haste, even though haste is bugged right now. You only really need one skill point in it to get the full effect of the actual skill itself. So when it's fixed, I'm probably going to take 2 points out of follow-up and put it back into haste, because you don't really need follow-up. That's just kind of an added benefit. But you're definitely need the status effect aspect of this setup. So potent poisons exploit their weakness, swift death for the global damage modifier, follow up for the little bit of like burst damage you get when you build up the stacks. You're going to want to take Shadow Step, because after you kill somebody, your next melee attack is going to be a critical hit. Elusive, because you can sprint and shoot at the same time. It synergizes really well with Swift Death. Contagion, which is one of the most busted, overpowered skills in the game right now. Alchemical Agent, to kind of further bolster the status effect aspect of the build. Now, for the Berserker tree, I took as many global damage modifiers as I could in it. Melee damage, Old Ways gives you a 30% global damage modifier and some damage reduction. Icebreaker gives you more global damage when the enemy is getting slowed or it's got a cryo status effect, it's about to get frozen. Cold Snap, because it actually synergizes really well with Swift Death. Again, the faster you move, the more damage you do. When you're in rage, the movement speed bonus from Cold Snap will actually be doubled. Frost efficiency goes into Icebreaker. Ancient Fury to actually boost the area damage effect of the Sultan Battery, and Blast Chill for obvious reasons. Every single time you swing a melee, you have a chance to cause a Frost Nova for Icebreaker, so on and so forth. Now, the Sultan Battery, like I said, the Dagger Storm is actually going to benefit from your area damage bonuses and your melee damage bonuses, which is quite good, quite potent. I know that the card damage doesn't read as high as it should, but this, for 95% of the aspects of the game, you are going to shred everything. The Live Wire for bossing, White Rider for mobbing, Crossblade for mobbing, Vamp for a little bit of the both, Buffmeister for obvious reasons, boosts your damage, boosts your movement speed, so on and so forth. And I went over the amulets previously. So it's really your choice. The build is quite versatile when it comes to the gear aspect. It is very much a DOT-focused build with the melee aspect, and it is also very good with guns. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Please consider to drop a like and subscribe. And with that said, have a good one, everybody. Take care.